Hi, in this video we are going to check the collision control and the duplicate control. Those two functions are pretty similar and should be used on any of your projects before actually moving to fabrication or the production of any list actually or any drawings. Collisions are simply two elements or more sharing the same space. So in Cadwork, since we are actually creating the detail or the model as it should be made and fitted on site, those collisions should be avoided. But sometimes it's true that we will actually leave on purpose certain collision simply because we know that this is something that will need to be figured out on site. But first, let's find them. The first thing that we want to do is select all the elements we want to consider during this test. So here I'm just going to use Ctrl A to select all visible elements. Then the collision check can be found under Tools and Collision Check or Ctrl K. So now here it's going to flag in this collision check window all the different collisions it found and will actually select them. You can therefore hide element without found collision and remains only the one listed in here. First thing here that we want to check is first there is different options, and here the most important is element type. Element type allows you to actually consider or not certain element in your next calculation. It doesn't affect the current result. So here if I uncheck beam, select my element again and run the check, no collision detected. So here always be careful about the element type that you have here activated. By default they are all activated, and it's just here for example that I have unselected auxiliary element, which actually we are going to activate for the next test. Then here I'm just going to run the calculation again, and here we have a bit more actually collision that we had before, and the reason why it's because we just added here the auxiliary element. So I'm just going here to show you how these elements were used in this file. So once that we have run the calculation, you can actually select the element, and using the option we have here, zoom on detected collision and hide element without collision, for example, we can here have a better understanding of what is the actual collision that is here listed. And as you can see here, it's a plate with the extrusion. The extrusion was simply the volume here that was actually used in the file to cut through the beam that's supposed to be placed at that location. So here again, I'm just going to select all my elements and simply deactivate my auxiliary element and run the check again. Of course, this could have been done without unchecking this, simply by hiding the extrusion or deleting them if they are no longer useful before running the test. So now here we have actually all different collisions that are shown. So here we have a connection issue, for example, between these elements, and then here we have issue with one of our connector and it's the joist they are actually attaching. So here if we actually zoom in here, we can see that we understand what the issue might be. I think that these elements have been moved and the extrusion in the beam not adapted. So here, if you struggle checking or seeing where the collision might occur, for example here we might have a really small collision here. If you want, you can actually here use the option display interaction of active collision, and here when you activate your collision, and active collision only, it's going to generate actually a volume showing you where the collision is happening. So here the issue might have been that this element has been lifted, changing therefore the cut that was already done on this element. So now that we have all these elements here and we know what we need to do, I'm just going here to select them because of course I need to take care of them. Close my collision check, and here we can actually fix these collisions. So most of them was actually missing cut. So here I'm using the cut remove with the shortcut Ctrl V to cut them, and here I will actually need to recall my extrusion. So since I know their names, I can go to Vision, by attribute, name, and call back here all extrusions. Just going to select the one I need here, and again CW to cut those. Now here I could actually reselect all my elements, run my check again with the Ctrl K, and here we should not have any collision left. So this is really important to do before, as I said earlier, before generating information from the model, and also before you actually assign production numbers, because since production numbers are affected by the shape of the element, or are linked to the shape of the element, and identical element will be issued the same number. If one is actually colliding with another one and would have need an extra cut, they will still have the same production number as the other ones, meaning that when you cleanse this cut, and Cadwork will actually find position control issues. So this is something that we are going to check into in another video. Right before leaving here, I would like simply to show you another type of collision that is unlike normal collision that we see here, that we could have found to the naked eye. This is what we call a duplicate. Duplicate will also be found when you run a collision check. It's simply a perfect collision, meaning that you have two identical elements placed on top of each other. So here it's impossible to see there is two elements, except if we of course select them and check here the amount. So when you run the collision check, it's going to tell you the active element exists twice or more. Ignore, and here, yeah, show us that collision. This can also be found under Tools and check for element duplicates. The element exists twice or more, and here there is one important thing to be aware of. When you find a duplicate, it's going to select all the elements but one, simply for you to quickly delete them. But one thing to be aware of, if here I'm just going to move this element here along X, and let's say 5 feet away, if I delete this element, there is one thing I need to pay attention to, is what are the information that are previously assigned to my element. Simply by deleting an element, simply make sure that since you add duplicates, make sure that all the information are actually saved and actually properly assigned to the element you are going to delete. Simply one thing to be careful about. Delete this one, and now this file is ready to go and move to the next step. Thank you for watching.